What's up? This your boy Carcino here, and let's talk about it. This is the breakup, basically, of a team. And when Jodeci first came together, well, we already know, KC pulled a pistol out on Mr. Dalvin because he thought Mr. Dalvin was trying to get with his chick. And they were in the church choir, so they definitely didn't need to stay in the church choir doing that. But they come out with this gospel sound, and Puffy saw a spark in them with the name Jodeci. He just thought that was very creative, and it's like, man, these guys got talent. So what happened was, Devontae was and he was more of the producer. That was mostly his thing. And Mr. Dalvin was he was the ladies' man in the industry. That man was laying them down. And at one time, he even took one of the Cincinnati Bengals wives, one of the Cincinnati Bengal players' wives. She was a former playmate anyway. I don't know why these guys date these playmates. And she's a former Miss America. You see how the trend goes? They marry him, then the players, their career die down, and they run into somebody that's hot and blossoming. Chicks go running. So, she's like, oh, I got a Playboy thing to do. And so she run out there, and he was popping off. There's a lot of altercations happened with Mr. Dalvin. He had T-Bars, he had Arnez Simpson. He was making a great run for himself. Proud of you, Mr. Dalvin. Now, getting back to this story. When Jodeci started to come into their own and grow, and as a group, Puffy was just an intern. He was just Sean Combs at the time, as a little intern trying to make a name for himself. And he saw potential in Jodeci. So he was working under Andre Harrell at the time. So Andre Harrell was like, who was these guys? Like the group they got and stuff. And Andre Harrell, he knows talent too. So he's like, oh yeah, they pretty good. But Puffy was making it like, you guys are going to be my pet project. He was molding them, trying to build them into, like pop acts. And you guys are going to blow from Uptown. So they came out with first song, the one that was written by I'll Be Sure to Forever My Lady. And that blew up. And then Puffy pushed and pushed and pushed for them to come out with Gotta Love. You gotta love. And he took full responsibility for Gotta Love. He pushed all this into a video, everything, because Puffy's like, man, we gotta have some dancing tunes. Yeah, we got all the bump and grind tunes, but we need dance. I'm telling you, if we get dance, that's it. So the song didn't take off. So Puffy started to take, all the control of the dancing and the directing the video for Stay. And Puffy was actually doing pretty well. People didn't know Puff directed some videos. He did the Outkast video, their first video. But he also directed Stay. So Stay ended up becoming a hit, and Gotta Love was not. And see, the thing is, Forever My Lady was never supposed to really be the single because it was controversy back in the day when you a teenager and you come out with the opening line, so you having my baby. You know, that was like, what? What do you mean he having? So it was a lot of controversy about that. Now, Casey didn't have a chick pregnant and the baby wasn't on the way. It was just a song. You know, and they like, you guys are singing the teens. But I'll Be Sure, wrote the song. So, and KC didn't feel comfortable singing it at first, but eventually, they went ahead and, did what they had to do with it. So, Puffy built up a rapport with Jodeci. So, when they had all their hit songs and Come and Talk to Me and all these other songs and remixes started coming, that's when the flow of Money and Puffy and they trusting his direction and working with him, and he's basically grooming Devontae to be the next Puffy Combs. Like, dude, you gonna be great, as far as your production and everything going. He's an A&R. He knows what something should look like, what something should sound like. And when they came out with Diary of a Mad Band, they were workaholics. They had so much done. Like, it was like 50-some songs done, and they were going through all these different songs in a different feel. They didn't want to go for the more gospel-y sounds. They wanted to just go strictly for the I'm sorry. Like the neo-soul, clean-cut R&B style. They weren't really going for that. But they did like 3-4 songs that they had that were old, like My Heart Belongs to You and all those songs. Those were old songs. But they starting to go towards their bad boy ways. So Diary of a Mad Band was like the breakout. Like, we the bad boys of R&B. Which that title still was belonging to New Edition, but New Edition didn't cross that line like they did as far as on the records. On the records, they really was... they hadn't even begun to hit the point that New Edition was at when New Edition took their slide. Everybody thought Jodeci was the bad boy groups because they dressed like the bad boys. New Edition dressed like choir boys, but oh man, off the camera, we saw it. So things started to, take different directions once, Death Row started to blow up. And there was an altercation to where, an invitation was sent out for them to start, joining up, and as far as management, because Puffy was really their manager at the time. And KC is with Mary J. Blige at the time. And, while this is going on, it's a lot of things and issues going on with them and with the group. Everybody's enjoying the success of 2 years. Puffy is working for bringing Biggie and the Bad Boy, and all this stuff is going on at this time, and Biggie's getting ready to blow. And then came the 1993 home invasion of Devontae Swing. It is rumored that he was approached about joining Death Row Records, and they had an offer to join Death Row Records and, have Suge manage them rather. And this same deal was also like being rumored and thrown around like, like this is to be the move for you and Mary J. and everybody else at the time. Suge had money. So at this time, he was managing Mary J for a minute. And it's a lot of different things happen in here. But, Mary J was messing around with Puffy for a while. We all know that. They did their little thing, and she just wanted some time and new direction. So Suge was the one to offer to manage Mary J for a little bit. And in that case, she was dating KC, and he wanted to get Jodeci over there. And Devontae was the producer, and he was the guy they really had to work with, because he was the one they wanted to bring on board, and he wasn't with it at first. And then all of a sudden, there was a mysterious robbery at gunpoint in his house. They took like $20,000 worth of jewelry, pistol whipping him, assaulting him. Rumors even said he was sodomized during the attack. And he was never the same. After this attack, he became so paranoid that the only people that was really around him was people that really truly knew him, and people had to come see him after the attack and the robbery on his crib. And Biggie was there, Puffy was there. They all came to, see Mr. Dalvin. I mean, not Mr. Dalvin, but Devontae. And mentally, he was not in a good space. And that's when Biggie tried to bring over there. Like we had Devontae crib, and he had to tell Big, like, what are you doing? Like, no, this dude his house just got robbed, and you bringing in somebody that he don't know, to his crib. No, he can't come in, man. It ain't that kind of, situation, man. This dude just got robbed. He ain't trying to see no new faces. So, Big got it. He understood, man. But he was like, all right. So then they went in there, Devontae was just different, with everybody. And so far, he became more paranoid, more untrusting of people, and they started to gravitate more a little bit of working with Suge, letting Suge be the main guy to represent them. And when that happened, that was like it became like official in 95, but he put he gave him a large sum of money too. He gave Mr. Dalvin, not Mr. Dalvin, but Devontae a lot of money just to do one song on Above the Rim. They were the executive producer. Like, he was Devontae of the Above the Rim soundtrack. So he was eating real good off that and taking that upfront money. Then the song they did on Murder Was the Case in 94, they got paid like $300,000 for one song on the soundtrack. Plus, he was once again the producer of the beats and everything on there. And that was one of my favorite songs, that Come Up to My Room. If you come up, you're done now. I'm sorry, let me come up to my room. Devontae was a genius when it came to this music thing. His problem was he needed to be indulged in music 24/7, because when he's outside of it, his mental state was not the same, and he never went to get help or anything of that nature. And while he was working in his his mode and all this stuff, Diddy had no problems with him. It only became after the 1995 Source Awards did everything started to turn into a problem. Devontae started fighting with Suge erratically arguing over some money about his publishing credits on this album. And once that happened, Mike Tyson had to take up for him. Because Mike Tyson's like, hey. Mike Tyson was around and was like, man, no, man, it's Jodeci, man. Like, let that be. Because Mike stood up for him. And that was cool. Because Tyson didn't have to do that. But he was like, I'm going to stand up for Mr. Dow. Not Mr. Dowling, but for Devontae. And that was love. Because Mike Tyson didn't have to do that. And he probably would have had his neck broke had it went any other way. Now, during this time, when Jodeci put out the show, the after party in the hotel, that was their last album for years. That album was not that good, and everybody knew it. But it was a bad situation. Because I remember Mike Tyson grabbed Suge. Because at this time, Mike Tyson was hanging out with Suge. He had just, I think this is when Mike had just basically came home. And he was out in Vegas, living out their way. And he was still into his Mike Tyson Muslim thing at the time. And he was still living right. He didn't go off course yet. So Mike was still living right at this time. So when he grabbed him, grabbed Suge, like, brother, Muhammad Ida, you should lay off the brother, man. You should lay off. No, he's a good man. He disrespecting himself. He got a point, man. You don't have to be physical. We brothers, man. We solve everything with conversation, brother. Assalamu alaikum. So when Mike was coming on that, and Suge was like ready to break his neck, because Devontae was losing his mind, going off and angry, and and he was, Suge just respected. Okay, this dude just crazy. Now, the rumors that Suge did all that stuff to him, I don't know who did it. It could have been Puffy that did it to him in that robbery. We don't know. And do I want to know? Absolutely not. Don't tell me, because I don't want to know who did what. Now, all I just know is it was done. Now, moving right along, Puffy and Suge now has a beef because of the incidents that we all know by now. So now there's a beef, and Jodeci is hanging out with Suge, and they're over there with Suge Knight. So Devontae was like, you know what? I ain't with this. And they was like, look, man, I'm not with this no more, man. Devontae's like, I'm out. And Mr. Dalvin was like, I'm out. So basically, they were not really down with Death Row like they used to be. But Casey and JoJo, they took the whole pill. They down the red one and the blue one with a shot of Hennessy. And they kept going. Both of them was trying to outdrink each other and sing and doing all kind of crazy stuff, getting sexual harassment suits for exposing themselves in front of kids. They had hired Jodeci to come out there, Casey and JoJo, and they just getting all freaky, licking their tongues out, and it's like 13-year-old girls is there. And they were like, do you know what event you at? You're not in a concert. So it was just, they were a mess. But they put together some good albums before they started to go left. But the more and more they indulged, they were spinning out of control. Especially when all the porn stars from the Bay got involved. And, these some dudes from North Carolina, man. They not used to this. They getting thrown in here with Nina Harley and all these other people. They was just losing their minds. So, at this point, right before the split up, Biggie had a show. And Junior Mafia was getting ready to, I think they had finna drop their album and stuff. And they hadn't put out I think they had a single out, but nobody really had seen Lil' Kim or nothing like that. But anybody who knew Biggie knew Kim was close to Biggie. And they did. And this was at the time when, there was no Hit 'Em Up out yet. But everybody knew Death Row and Puffy and them had a beef with Suge Knight and everything. So at this point, what they was trying to do was get Lil' Kim and have her, on the song. And they really wanted to make the remix with Lil' Kim. Devontae made the beat and made it a flow where she could rap too. They was in there talking about it. Like working together. Like every time they were talking to them, they would just walk past them. Puff and Big, they would just walk past them every time. Wouldn't say a word to them. They was just like, they over there with them. They ain't with us. They over there. So that's how it was. It was like us and them. So, but Big didn't want Lil' Kim hanging around Mr. Dalvin and Devontae. He didn't want that going down, period. Devontae was really talking about work. Then it turned into something else because Suge wanted to really push it. So when they saw, they sent her an invitation to do the song with Jodeci, the remake. They offered her like $100,000 just to do the remake. And she was like, whoa, 100,000, 100K just for one song, a remix. All I gotta do is basically just drop 16 and I'm out. 100,000 for 16. She was like, I'm finna get this money. Big like, no, you not. You gonna sit right down. And that was a smart move because they would have took those pictures and used them like they did against Puffy and they did it against Biggie with Faith, taking them photographs. And it ended up, it didn't damage Biggie as much as everyone thought it would, but it was a blow. Definitely at that time it was a blow. It was massive. So at that time, Biggie was supposed to do songs with Jodeci. All of those things got canceled, got thrown to the side. And you never heard about it. So, in 96, Big started, they were like, we don't need you. We finna work with R. Kelly. So they wanted to crush Jodeci anytime Jodeci wanted to do something. They came with 112. That was the replacement insult to Jodeci. Like, you guys are replaceable. We gonna get it done the right way. So Biggie started working with 112 to just try to crush Jodeci's whole legacy. Anything they had, just crush them. They kept pushing everything into 112. 112 became the group that Jodeci should have been at the time. So they really was like, had all support. It was remix after remix, 112. And, it was just, they were basically, Bad Boys version of Jodeci. At that time. And Jodeci decided to do the song dissing them. Biggie, you ain't nothing but a bit. You ain't all y'all a bit. Puffy, you a bit too. So when they start talking like that, that's when you know everything's over. And they start riding with Pac. When Pac did hit him up, he got Casey and JoJo with him, and they just disrespecting Puff like that, and Biggie, and they trying to set off a war. Mr. Dalvin didn't want to be a part of that. And neither did Devontae. So it just was Casey and JoJo, and that's who they was rolling with. And that's what they wanted. Casey and JoJo as individuals riding with Pac. And they did the Toss It Up, going at Dre and them, and doing all these other songs. And it was just to me, that was just a bad time and a bad look for Jodeci. Casey and JoJo should have just stayed making their songs, and definitely should have at least stayed with Mr. Dalvin and stayed in contact. Their last album, when they came back together, was actually good. That was a great record. The last Jodeci record that came out like 2 years ago, after like forever, that was it. But when 112 came, a lot of people forgot about Jodeci. So Puff's strategy and stuff worked. But I think now everybody is, grown men. Everybody grew up and they were all, connected. And Mr. Dalvin is still, not Mr. Dalvin, but Devontae is still lost. I think he's got tats on his face now. He's a musical talent. I'm quite sure you heard about that story with Missy and everybody in the studio. But he's a multi-talented human being, man. It's just a shame, what happened to him. He was already an emotional guy. And then to be assaulted like that, it could psychologically do a lot of damage. But anyway, that's how everything went. I'm out.